Hello, good morning, good afternoon, almost, good evening, depending on when you might be watching this. Hi, everybody. I am Laura Wick here, and I'm popping on today as the live stream is getting going, and I know it takes a moment for people to join. I'm popping in today because I want to talk and maybe give a flip side perspective to something that's really important around inviting people to join you in your programs and services. Another way that you might say that is sales. So I want to talk a little bit about reclaiming and reframing and reclaiming sales. And I do have a question for y'all that I'm going to share. I'll share it at the top and then I'll go into my story just because I know you might not be able to stick around. And I definitely want your feedback on this question. So many of you have noticed that Michelle Rockwood, Michelle is our heart-centered sales expert here in BodyMind Living. She and I have been going live on Fridays. We will be back again this Friday. And over the weekend, I was kind of thinking about my own experience being on the receiving end of some sales conversations. And I wanted to share I just want to share an invitation that changed my life. And before I do this, I know that I'll ask my question and then we'll get into the story. I know, and say hello, by the way. I see y'all on here. Say hi. Let me know the sound is coming through. Tap that heart button or like button or whatever button and say hello. Let me know who's here with me today. So that I can say hi as well. So my question for you today is really around what, if any, blocks do you feel that you have when it comes to owning the sales conversation? So sometimes it might be I'll give you some examples. And hello, thank you for letting me know the sound is coming through. For some people, it might be I haven't figured out who my ideal clients are. I'm not sure what I'm selling. Sometimes time might be an issue. So just start to think about that. And I want to talk a little bit about it. So one of the things, and I'll share a little bit about my experience. I grew up in the massage world. My training is in massage therapy. And one of the messages that I received over and over again was be really good at your craft, be really good at your modalities, keep learning more and more techniques and trainings and become an expert in that modality, and your work will speak for itself. And I quickly learned when I started working, because I did the thing. I worked multiple jobs. When I started my business, I did the give it away for free and your work will speak for itself, which really ended up creating people just constantly wanting more free stuff and more discounts. And I quickly learned that I had to be able to, in a sense, sell myself. And there was so much for me, so many blocks around feeling like I had to get it right, had to get my pricing right, had to do my research, had to be in front of the ideal clients, had to know all the things that I was doing in order to step up and sell. So I'm just kind of curious. Michelle and I are actually putting together a special training, and we would just love to know what do you feel are the biggest blocks that you have around sales, the sales conversation, and really owning that. So think about that. Let us know if you want to come back and share that. That would be great. So on the flip side, and I have so much to say about this, and I want to keep it brief as well. I want to share with you being on the receiving end of sales conversations, because as I was looking back over the weekend, and looking at the investments that I made, I realized the growth that I've had in my business, going from a massage therapist who was working her ass off to make $24,000 a year to owning a 7-figure company. I realized that the moments that changed my life were the moments that somebody offered me an invitation to work with them. i.e., a sale, right? The sale changed my life. And one thing that I've heard that has, in my experience, been true, and I'll tell you why it's been true to me. One thing that I've heard is that the best investment that you can make in anywhere is in yourself. That investments in your growth and your business tend to yield a 10 times return over a 10-year period minimum. I will tell you that that has been very true for me. And a lot of those returns have happened sooner than 10 years, but just a general frame of reference when you're thinking about your programs and services, think about, can the person receiving your programs and service have a 10 times return over the course of 10 years. That's generally the rule of thumb, because that's actually better than the stock market, right? That tends to be an 8% return. So investing in yourself and your business tends to yield a 10 times return. And the reason that I believe that has been true for me is not because what I have invested in has been the magic formula that showed me one post or one thing, that's going to make it all happen. I use investing in programs and stuff as a way to be committed to myself and making my goals non-negotiable. So when I look back at these programs and these coaches and these experiences that I've invested in, when I made the investment, I also made the decision that I'm doing this because stepping up to the level I know I'm being called to, really making that a priority, that investment is a reflection of that. And like, I know for me, when I see this statement on my credit card, oh, so Shelly, you have a belief that's starting over, right? So right now there's an experience that's starting over as the block, and that's great. I have only a couple of minutes and I really want to speak to that. So we'll make sure to include that. That's a great one. So I have thoughts on that. Just know I'll be back. Got to stay focused. Okay. So investing. So for me, it's just a way that I show up, and I know that about myself. So I'll give you a little bit of my history and I know my Wi-Fi is not being nice. I think it was 2012, 2013, I had been doing my business, working multiple jobs, really spinning my wheels in the massage world for a while. And I worked like chiropractor, I worked at a hospital, I had my private clients, I was working all the freaking time. And I needed to create a website. So I signed up for this program. It was $2,000. And that ended up giving me a whole different lens as to how to see my business. And so that was one of my first investments. And actually, I started investing in coaching way back in 2006. So my first program, though, I'll say was 2012, I think is when it was, 2012, 2013. And then a couple years later, I think this was 2014, 15. I gotta go back and look at my dates. I invested in a retreat. It was 7 days. It was a $5,000 retreat. That retreat itself, I went for my own personal growth, and that retreat allowed me to that was the retreat that I own my decision to own my role as a coach. I had been coaching since 2008 and hadn't actually charged for it yet. So that was really, for me, a big growth edge, which has obviously resulted in a lot of growth. After that, and I say these numbers, please know I'm sharing these numbers for you to see my journey. Okay. So just know I'm going to share some big numbers, and it's more of a way to see the journey. Next, I invested in a $10,000 mastermind that allowed me to really get online. This is really where the creation of BodyMind coaching came from. Let me rephrase that. This is where me working with other practitioners came from. Then I invested in another mastermind that was $24,000 and was not what I expected. And even though it was not what I expected, in that I don't think what I purchased was what was delivered. It was one of the most amazing growth edges that I've ever had in my life, because remember, I choose to step up, right? When I made the investment, I chose that I'm going to receive everything that I need for my next step. And even though the investment itself wasn't what I expected, it was everything I needed. Okay. And here's the one that I really want to talk about, because when I left that experience, I was looking for a coach and to be in a mastermind. And in this time, I had 2 different sales conversations with 2 different coaches. And one of them used a lot of old sales tactics. And there's a reason why heart-centered practitioners, why the traditional sales of what we're taught doesn't feel good. And I'll go down this road a little bit later. But the biggest thing is that a lot of the what we affectionately call the bro marketing sales tactics are really rooted in manipulation. And I know that you being a heart-centered person, like that's not for you, right? And so no wonder sales feels like a separate thing, and then your services are over here. And so I had this experience being on the receiving end of this sales conversation where the person was basically like, if you don't change this, like, you know, like, just like, it just felt so gross and manipulative. And I knew what they were doing to me. Right. And it really like stirred me, because like I was like, but I need this, but like, it just created this dissonance in me. And I really had to stay grounded in that call. You know, the pressure to it was just not a good call. And on the flip side, I had a conversation with somebody else who it didn't even feel like a sales call. We got on there, we chatted. She was asking me about my family, and we just bonded. We had this moment where we both like the Mr. Sketch markers because they smell good. And literally we picked out, it wasn't the green, but we picked out the exact same color, and it was pink. We both pulled it out and we went like this at the very same time. Like I just felt this massive connection with this person. And at this time, I was doing multiple 6 figures and just hitting a wall. And the invitation that this person made me was a $50,000 investment. I ended up working with her for 2 years. So just hear this. And that moment is what allowed me, working with her allowed me to build the team, to build the systems, and allowed us to get to 7 figures. So I say this because, oh, and by the way, I had never met this woman. The first person that was like the unaligned call, I had followed that person. I had known that person. I had been in groups. I'd read all their emails, and it just was like this really weird call. This woman who I said yes to, we had one conversation. I had never met her. I had never followed her. I had never read an email. I had never, none of that. But the way she held me in that conversation, without being pushy, without being salesy in any way, by the end of it, it was a 50-minute conversation. I was ready to say yes to a $50,000 invitation. And what I said is, I know this is a yes. I'm going to give you my deposit because I practice what I preach. And then I'm going to go talk to my husband just to get to enroll him and get his support in this process as well. So here's what I say is that moment for me showed me what is possible when we start thinking about the sales conversation. Because that invitation, those invitations, I want you to hear, from the $2,000 course to the $50,000 invitation, every single one of those has transformed me from the moment I said yes, because I said yes from an energy of I'm choosing for this to be the thing that lifts me. Like I'm choosing for this to be me making my goals non-negotiable and stepping up and doing this even when I'm scared. So I look back at these moments of those people who were willing, right? Think about the woman who made this invitation for me. Think about if she had said, "Oh, I don't know if I can put this out there. I don't know if I can charge that much. I don't know if this is my target market. I don't know if I have the time. None of that, right?" I would have missed out on the opportunity. So many people in the world of body mind coaching and body mind living would have missed out if that woman did not make that invitation for me. Did you hear this? Because the same is true for you and your clients, right? You stepping in and reclaiming the sales conversation as a point of transformation. And one of the things that we believe is I had a very visceral experience of a not so great sales conversation, and then just one that didn't even feel like a sales conversation. When we can reclaim the sales conversation as a point of transformation, of activation, what happens is you recognize there's a domino effect, right? That I think a lot of times practitioners feel like they're taking or stealing, or like there's this negative zero-sum game if somebody hands you money. But what you don't realize is that somebody saying yes to you and your services in that moment to create a space and a conversation that is so grounding and informative, and just let somebody to come home into themselves and claim themselves, that has a domino effect. And the sales conversation is such a loving point of reference, a point of again, activation and transformation for you and your clients. I'm already late to a meeting that I'm supposed to be to. Shelly, I just want to let you know, I'm going to answer this really quickly, just give you a thing. I want you to notice the voice that says it feels like you're starting over. I want you to maybe think about what do you know, right? What are some of the things that you teach and share with your clients, and what do they need? Because I have a sense you're not starting over. It just might be that what you know and what your clients need can be delivered in a different way that's not necessarily hands-on or in person. Okay. And so really, this is a great example of where a sales conversation is so vital, because you can connect with those people and have a beautiful conversation, and then make an invitation to support them in a way that might not look like your normal Reiki business. All right, I got to bounce. Mwah! Let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you.